All right. So today we're going to be talking about the basics of how to start out investigating, and I'm basically breaking it down into like levels and steps because this is how I taught myself. So because the way the laws work in the United States are, there's two sets. Every state has their set of laws. Every Commonwealth, which is I think Massachusetts and Kentucky only now, or Massachusetts and Virginia, they've got one set of laws. Sometimes they're called penal codes or whatever. And then we have a federal law that covers our whole country. So it gets complicated when you're looking into different cases. You've got to know like what state you're dealing with. So everything I'm about to present is based in Minnesota for people out there looking into Crowley stuff specifically, but can be tailored easily to your state. So I'm going to teach you how to do that and teach you kind of how to work through different areas of resources you would have never thought to use. Number one, nothing else you learned today. Please remember that each state's different. They're called penal codes, laws, or statutes. They're all basically the same idea, except penal codes are typically in commonwealths. It's your job to know where you live, what your laws are, and where you travel to. You know, like they say when in Rome, but different states, the laws change and people forget. No matter what a state law or penal code or statute says, if a federal law has something written on record for the same issue and its interpretation is different, the federal law always wins. So it's always good to remember that the laws at state level are good for there, but if the federal law says something different, that's the law, okay? Well, the first thing I did was I looked into, obviously, the Minnesota State Legislature page. That was the easiest way for me to gain access for the actual laws and statutes they have to provide as part of the deal for passive citizens. Every state has their own page. It'll usually end of. But look for your state legislature page in your state. Texas should have one, Massachusetts has one, every state should have one, and some are better than others. It will look really boring when you start realizing, you know, there's numbers and statutes and everything's broken down and it seems annoying. However, even if it's as long as War and Peace, really quick, you're going to be interested in what you learn. Not only are there weird laws in every state, like really weird ones, but there's also some really interesting interpretations. The best advice I've ever been given is never assume that those who uphold the law understand it in the least fucking bit. And that was actually given to me by the best lawyer in the United States. And I'll never forget, he said, don't think they understand the law, they don't. It's up to you to know it. So I also cautioned in the beginning that those state legislature pages get really annoying and frustrating. So if you start to get a migraine, step away and drink some water and go back to it later.
Okay.
It pisses you off. Also reliable and easy to access and found in every state. You're going to have to go to your local library, but the good news is it's an amazing place to go to do this work. One, there's always people willing to help you that are bored and want to do work, which is awesome. They have really cheap printing and copying, which is amazing. They usually have a laminator in the back that they'll let you use if they like you. In every single local library, there's copies of the local law and handbooks or penal code books, free ones you can borrow, and there's printable ones in the online databases, and there's also federal laws that have to be in each library as well. Everything that you need is going to be there. Also, microfilm, don't ever count it out. Someone there can show you how to use it, but microfilm is how they use, I don't know if you're familiar, but it's how they keep all the really old articles and stuff, and that's where you find the best information. So if you sit down and really look through old magazines and periodicals on microfilm, you will find a wealth of information no one else has, ever. The other good thing about that is college libraries. If you're near a college or an educational facility, they usually have additional periodicals and stuff they pay for that have really good information, and they're usually more expensive. So local libraries can't have them. So it's another great resource. So number one, the first thing you always should do, and it's going to sound ridiculous, but you always start a Google to start your research and change words and phrases even if they sound ridiculous. So like I have checked my Google search and found some scary sentences on there, but the truth is like if you're looking for certain things, it takes you a minute to phrase it properly, but if you don't put it in a question and you just put the keywords in, you're going to get a lot of luck. And just keep changing the words around. So for example, if I wanted to look up Camille, David, and Rania's death, right? I could, for example, write on, like when I first started to learn about the case, what I did was murder-suicide in the state of Minnesota, Christmas time, neighbors reported it. And then I started to get their names. So the next time I did it, I searched their names. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I'd go like that. If the links you're seeing don't end in .gov or .edu or they're not reliable national or international news sources, don't even bother. Just don't. Keep going. If you can find websites that have information on them that actually isn't like something that you would be embarrassed to present, then you can use those sites too. But you gotta be careful with like some of them. They're pretty brutal. I always say consider investing in a monthly subscription to background check services. You get usually a lot of good deals on them. I have one that's excellent, and I pay a monthly fee, and I have unlimited searches, and the information is like awesome. I learned through using some of the crappy ones, like My Life is terrible. Obviously, you've got to be careful with those. If you want, I'll tell you the one I have. It's Intellius Premier. That one is, I think, $35 a month, but it works fantastically. And I can keep in print, and I own my information all the time, which is awesome. So I always recommend that. 3, never use just 1 or 2 sources for any piece of information you're looking to use in a publication, because especially if a story is breaking and info keeps changing, you got to keep confirming it until it's like solidly the truth. 3 reliable places, and keep a record of your sources. Boom.
Can we go back to number 2? When you're talking about using these things, like in Intellius, there is a proper way to use it, and there is an improper way, correct?
Yes. Well, yes, because obviously when you take on one of those things, they give you an agreement to sign, and you have to, obviously you should read it. I didn't know I had to say that, but you should read it, because one of the things they say is this information, sometimes it can be flawed, yada, yada, will say on it, you can't use it to, deny somebody housing or a lease or a job or anything like that, which is fine. But the information, especially on Intellius, I can back up with a million other sources. I've never had a problem with it. And I don't use it to discriminate. I use it to help lead me to other answers I need. So, like, it will give me cell phone numbers, or it'll give me addresses or jobs or whatever. And those things help me get in touch with people or find their relatives. So that's what I usually use it for.
And not for, yes, but not for cyber stalking, and not for
things
like
no.
Nothing criminal or anything.
I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that. Yeah, no.
These sites will also state that on there, that you're not supposed to cyber stalk or use that information to cyber stalk.
You have to do that to sign up. You have to agree to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's against the law. I'm glad you mentioned that, Greg. Thank you. All right, so what are you legally allowed to see? Now, the truth is you're supposed to be able to see everything. We're supposed to have a transparent government, but we all know the way the world works. In the interest of saving time, I could tell you that as people in the public, we are entitled to the following, but I mean, in all the years I've done this, it's been really eye-opening. You are allowed to, and usually there's available almost right away, public records of court proceedings, unless the case is still pending or it's an open investigation. Public cases that are high profile, but you're supposed to be able to see them once they're closed. Violent cases are very high profile. When it's over, you can see it, but usually you have to pay a fee, and typically you won't get access to things like the photographs or the scene video, obviously. Some states, like Connecticut, after when Sandy Hook happened, they released that, I think, 6 months to a year later, and just redacted barely anything. And it was really interesting they were willing to give that out, but if it was Massachusetts, never. You have the right to see autopsy reports, especially if you're next of kin. However, like in states like Massachusetts, and like I said here, I'm talking about Minnesota a lot of the time, but in Massachusetts, for example, unless you're able to either prove your next of kin or you're able to give them a damn good reason why you need it, they will not give you an autopsy report or tox report. They'll laugh you out the door. In New Hampshire, if you have a good reason and you walk in and you like talk to them and give them coffee, they're like, sure, come on in, read my file. It's like really weird. And they can deny your appeal. It's up to the medical examiner. You can see anything by local and national news sources. I prefer to use information that actually is done by places overseas. We all know that the media is owned by like the same 4 people, and it really doesn't matter. But I like to use other people's perspectives on top of the ones here, because usually our news is quite different. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. I mean, it's less biased, at least. There's still pieces of shit, but I think I said turds here, but, either way. You're also allowed to access something. This is going to, like, blow your mind. The Social Security Death Index. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
The what?
Is that?
Social Security Death Index.
Oh, no, I haven't heard of that.
Heard.
Okay. The Social this is a great piece of information. However, I will caution you. Yeah, I'm going to caution you ahead, though, just like I'm glad Greg brought it up, that you can access people that are deceased. You can go into the Social Security database. If they're dead, you can access things like their Social Security number while they were alive, their date of birth, a lot of their personal information once they're dead. And it's something that people almost never think to use. As long as you don't steal the numbers, you can use it because it's public information. but don't steal the numbers, obviously. That's just dumb. Family immigration and papers from the census since we began taking it are also available online. So those are things you're allowed to see. Any questions?
And with the Social Security, you said it was a database?
It's called the Death Index.
Okay.
The Death Index.
Death Index, awesome.
Yeah. And if you Google a name and the state with the Social Security Death Index, usually it'll just come right up.
Okay.
And that way you can confirm if the person you're like looking at is the same person, or if you see information on your search, like your Intellius or whatever, you can double check the date of birth to make sure you're looking at the same person before you say, oh, this person was arrested. Oh, that date of birth is wrong. Stuff like that. It helps tighten up your story and your information, so it's less likely people will find flaw in it and make you look like a jerk. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So Greg, hit me with the next one. Now, I said on here, hit me with some of the tricks you use and we'll be on our way. I said, get ready. This stuff isn't all that impressive, but these are helpful. I use online yearbooks, which you can just Google the high school and the graduating year, and if they have yearbooks that have been scanned online, you can look right at them. Not every school has every year of graduation, but like my high school has a ton of them. They're great information. You find out who people were friends with, what clubs and things they were into. See what they're about before the world gets to them, and that helps you really look at their character a little. Obituaries are like my godsend. I hate to say that, but obituaries find everything that no one else finds. If I'm looking for relatives or a way to contact someone, obituaries are always the way I go.
Okay.
I told you I did searches and phrases on Google. I add things like arrest record or sentenced or things like public records, things like that. That's how I get my information there. And I also Google the address of the person to make sure that there were never any domestic violence calls or other crimes in the home. Because property crime, whether the person lived there or not, will be recorded and it will look the same. Just want to double check. I comb social media under I don't catfish anyone. I don't use it to talk to anybody. But I do have a separate social media that no one knows about because oftentimes I need to collect information from them, like if their spouse is safe, things like that. But I don't talk to anybody using it, and I don't violate anyone's privacy. I don't catfish, any of that. It's more for the sake of being able to see things like, are you safe? Things like that. You can also get things like their hometown. Help you confirm who they are. Again, this is about confirming the identities because a lot of the times you're going to see things like, what's a good example? Okay, good example. So my wife, my wife has another good woman who lives in our town with the same exact name, like beginning, middle, and end, and it's not a common one. When people look up either one of them, they're both really good people with great reputations, but one is a real estate agent and the same age as the other one who's a firefighter. So when she gets looked at for jobs, they'll say, well, why were you a real estate agent? Well, I'm not. I'm a firefighter. So it's one of those things where instead, if you take that name and you type it into the Death Index, or you take that name and you type it into, you know, social media so you can find it, you can go, oh, okay, here her date of birth is this, not this. You know what I mean? Okay. So the rules and tools. This is the wrap-up part pretty much. Never jeopardize any investigation. Stay away from all scenes until cleared by local authorities. And never, ever attempt to speak to witnesses or people that are being eyed by the police, people that could be armed and dangerous. Interviewing is not part of journalistic work, really, it's not. Questioning people is fine, and interviewing on a casual way is fine, but it takes a while to get to that level. Even I still screw it up, so I recommend people stay away till they are highly trained. Never interview others. You're doing research, and safety and mentally training-wise, you could really get hurt. Bring and wear gloves because if you end up holding aging papers from books at the library or you handle microfilm, the oils that are on your hands corrupt the records and soon they'll be gone. So I always say bring plastic gloves with you. Keep a notebook and a pen on you at all times, or keep some sort of note app on your phone so you can write down things quickly while you're going about your life and you can look into it later. Open a folder in your email. I know you and I went over this, Sophia. Greg, I try to give information too, but Greg doesn't listen to me because he's an ass. So if you have, just kidding, Greg, I love you. So if you want to have a folder in your email, it will document everything, time and date, and helps you keep everything in order. And for different cases, I keep different folders. The next one's a huge one, huge one. Journalistic integrity relies solely on keeping secrets. meaning don't give away your sources. You don't ever lie to people. If they say to you, where did you hear that? You look them in the face and you say, I can't tell you that because I wouldn't tell other people what you tell me. Obviously, never lie. Your reputation will be gone. You'll never be able to do the job again. Be informed. Never go into a discussion or a meeting. That's frustrating. I try to be patient with people that come to help out with cases, but the one thing that really gets me is when people show up and they're like, what are we doing? You're like, what do you mean what are we doing? We're doing something over here. If you want to hang out, that's great, but like if you got questions, man, answer them first, and then we'll answer the rest. It also looks sloppy and unprofessional. And last but not least, never promise anything ever to a victim or a family member because they hold on to that. And if you can't deliver for whatever reason, not only do you get really depressed about it, but they lose faith in you. Never promise.
I do have a few questions here. So
Go ahead.
The first one, never jeopardize an investigation. That would mean the people that were in the Crowley house on January 19th, technically the scene was clear. So I guess I'm trying to figure out when the scene is actually clear, when everything is actually clear, because they cleared the scene the same day.
But real quick, I'm going to ask you this, because I remember reading that house was padlocked shut and still there to collect investigative information and stuff. And they said they went in and were cleaning up because Sidra was coming. And that was very confusing throughout the story because remember, that's the first thing I asked you when we first started talking. I said, what's that about? There's no way.
But that wasn't on the 19th. That wasn't on the 19th. That was later. That was on the 25th. The
19th, you're talking about in January, right? The people came in, the 2 people you're talking about the next day. Yes, they should have never gotten in. However they got in, if I remember what I read, 3 or 4 different places in the report, it said that house had been padlocked, not with a code they could give them. I think it was keypad, and it should have never been open. It should have probably been under surveillance, for sure. I don't know how they cleaned up that quick. Really? That scene? I doubt that. I don't know how they got in, but I'm guessing they weren't supposed to be in there or somebody didn't do their job and lock up. When a scene
I don't know
clear,
if it was padlocked. Yeah, I don't remember any padlock on there. I'll have to look into that.
Okay, well, let me ask you this.
There was a lock that you had to enter a code.
Yeah,
and
there was a code lock.
Was
that there all the time?
That's like a real estate thing.
Yeah, that's just there after the police left.
It was there after the police left, and I do believe that they gave Dan.
Oh, real estate. Yeah, the real estate one, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, they should have never. That code should never be available to anybody.
Okay.
Well, Dan Senior, he should be the one. What's wrong with him having the code?
They found them. They didn't check on them until then. So for them to give out the code and be like, if anybody walked up to them and said, "Oh, I really need this," I left it in there. We weren't worried about it for 3 fucking weeks. So back up. And not for nothing, but them cleaning that quick is almost confusing to me because that scene was a mess. And for them to go through it and clean up that quickly and be like, all right, we're good, they still got in the middle is really weird. They definitely jeopardized the investigation for sure. They think of the scene.
But
they cleaned,
from their view,
like Dominique Ramsey, they preached everywhere. They have 40 times. I don't blame the parents. You know how I feel about JVR? What? Go ahead.
Didn't they clean the scene, Greg, within like a day or something?
They cleared it, so they cleared the scene that same day, but it was cleaned up throughout the next couple days. So there was like 2 or 3 days.
To get it cleaned up.
And so, in your opinion, Samantha,
but in the meantime, people were there.
Yeah, exactly. People were there, but in your opinion, how long do you think the police should have waited before they had released the house to the family?
Well, I can't say there's like an amount of time, but what I can say is that, for example, okay, let me give you an example of where I'm coming from. So Columbine, right? They wanted to wait for the people that were in the library to be able to go in there and see it if they wanted to. They wanted the ones who were willing to walk them through what they remember on scene. And they waited until they had cleaned up the bodies, location. It took a few months for them to do that. And then they let the people come in. They hadn't taken the blood off. Okay, so let me go back and I'll try to make it quick. So Columbine, it took them a few months for them to bring people in and get them there, and that took time. Sandy Hook, they cleaned up within I think a full 24 hours, and they videoed and had the bodies out and everything. That's a different ballgame. That's bloody. I feel as though it's not like, remember the other one we discussed, Sophia? The other one in Apple Valley?
Cannot.
The other murder-suicide? from a while back,
Yes.
last time we spoke? Okay. That one wasn't messy. So that one wouldn't have taken long. You remember the scene pictures? That one wouldn't have taken long at all. But the one at the Crowley house, man, that one was bloody. So for them to just be like, okay, we're good after 12 to 16
And isn't it a
hours,
biohazard?
and then for them to be like, we're going to put a lock on the door and we're going to give out the code, there's nothing in there the family needed. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. The air is tainted on the dog of the feces and the piss everywhere. That's terrible. On the blood, obviously, all of that was a problem. But I want to know how they got, why did Senior have the code at all? If it's real estate, why does anybody have the code?
Yeah, that's my main issue with that whole thing was that it was a biohazard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that
well, my problem is the fact that they locked it, gave out the code, and then hung out around the building. Why were okay, here's the question. Why were those two particular people who have no reason to be there, who are shady as hell, getting the code from Dan Sr. to walk around their dead friend's home? Why? They didn't need anything in there. Or 3 weeks before that, they would have found them in there. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes. I mean,
nobody needed anything until they found them dead. Everyone in on the scene. But they wanted to take shit.
They were trying to find out why this happened. They were trying to find out why their friend was guilty.
That's not their job. Their job is to stay out of the way. That's not their job. They're not investigators. They should absolutely, even if the investigators are the worst ones in the world, you give them the respect of not going in. And the amount of people that they afterwards, remember when I told you they didn't wear booties? Just took their shoe prints, that was asinine. But on top of it, they had people,
did when they were inside the house, and they did later.
Remember at the end they took their blueprints?
Yeah.
Yeah. That kind of thing is like, that's not what the booties are on, so that you don't leave the prints around the house. So for them at the end to be like, let's take our prints just in case, that's a waste of time. And like, put on the booties, do the job. But the other two were in there the next day with the code, still I find very strange, walking around as if nobody was in their bed. And it's not their job. I was very bothered by that. So in my opinion, I can't tell you a time span, Sophia. I can't do that because it depends on the bloodiness of the scene, but think about how bad Columbine was. And this one here was almost comparable, even if it was 3 people. It was really violent. And a smaller space, we were the same size as the library, actually. Less people dead, but the same amount of gore and bodily items, to the point where no one should have been there, I think, for at least a week. But even so, they should have been escorted by the cops.
Yeah, I
Makes sense.
tend to have to agree with you on that one because, I mean, when you're like even at a doctor's office and you spill blood, they have to come in, they clean it up, they sterilize. You know, there's all kinds of procedures. You're in a house that has dead bodies decaying for 3 weeks, feces everywhere. That place should have been locked down until the professionals had finished cleaning.
And I couldn't believe that. I couldn't believe that. That was my biggest complaint right away. I said, what were they doing in that house? And I said, because the timeline was so strange, I remember thinking, why were they? And then when I found out that they'd gone in there and I saw these like crushed beers on the ground and like, it looked almost as if after the scene, like a few days later, a week later, when the scene people had cleaned up, they'd painted some things over. They, you know, that at that time, if they want to come in, when things are painted over and cleaned up and they want to have a beer for their friends, I get it. But the day after, because what, you think you're going to go in and be Scooby-Doo? Like, that's so ridiculous that it's so suspicious to me. Like, you're not Shaggy and Scooby-Doo. Get the fuck out of there.
Well, if that was even what they were actually doing in that house.
Well, we know they weren't doing anything they were supposed to be, right?
My opinion is that they wanted the scene when the police went in to look like a hate crime. But the police went in thinking that it was a murder-suicide. So the friends went back a couple of days later to seal the deal and finish setting the scene to make it look like a murder-suicide, hence adding that bullet that was in the attic.
Now, that's not a bad theory, and I'll tell you that I can't, if we're playing Clue, I can't show you a card to say no to that. But I'll say what I think personally. I got to tell you, I slightly disagree. They were in there the very next day, and those friends were in there for no reason at all except to be in there to paint evidence take things that weren't theirs, in my opinion, and to do something that was definitely nefarious, because I don't care who you are, you don't want to go into the house where your best friend and his wife were left to nothing but a spinal cord in their neck. That's all that was left, and their child. Nobody wants to go in that house. Like, no one. For them to want to go in makes me think that they are very, very sick and dark people. And I think they were in there and they knew they could get away with it and they had ulterior motives, for sure. I do think that.
Yeah.
Those two people are very bad people, in my opinion.
That's something that I do agree with, absolutely, because nobody in their right mind would go into a house that was not properly cleaned yet.
Nope.
And
nobody wants to be there. Nobody. And that's the thing is also, why would you chance that when the neighbors themselves were like, well, we were watching Christmas presents pile up. They're going to be watching that house. I know it's not right, but people, they act like they turn in breakneck syndrome. They see an accident. They look. People are going to be driving by if the tape's not up. And you decide you're going to take, one of the guys had flowers or something weird. You're going to just traipse into the home across the street after they found the people dead. Like, are you an idiot? And then on top of it, though, that my biggest problem is if there was a code lock on the door, like the real estate style, there is absolutely no way in fucking hell, in millions of years, that James Sr. should have had it or anyone else. The police chief and maybe the head investigator should have had it at the most.
I don't understand why Dan Sr. shouldn't have it.
Because he needed nothing in that house. He needed nothing in there. And not for nothing, but the family is the same. You have to keep them out. Family will accidentally taint scenes, Craig. They want to. JonBenét Ramsey's mother, and I believe 1,000,000% that her parents did not have anything to do with her death. Her mother was so overcome by seeing her daughter's body, she ran to her and grabbed her. And she wasn't thinking, she was thinking like a mother. So the father shouldn't be in there. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't be. No way. And he had a key to the door, yeah, but when you put the real estate padlock on with a different set of circumstances, that's how you keep the family out.
It's different. They hadn't found her body yet, though. We're talking about a day, two later, right?
Yeah, no, we're talking about the day after with the two that went in.
Yeah, for the Crowley case.
Yes. What are you talking about?
For the JonBenét Ramsey case.
Either way,
yeah.
But that's the point, is either way, that's the whole reason why you don't let the parents have the code, whether it's the next day or the day of. The families are not thinking rationally and protecting the investigation. They can't. They're thinking like family, Greg.
Yeah, but it was their house, too. I don't know. It was their house.
Well, the family was in the house when it happened. I guess that's different. I get what you're saying. I do. But let me try something different.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sophia, sorry.
You remember the Pinnock case, Greg, where the brother contacted the police saying that he thought he found a bloody towel, and then he kept the bullet that he found?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, Jesus, I don't want to know.
Clearly. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
He wasn't thinking clearly, and but that house had been cleared for him to go in.
Maybe the house was cleared for Dan Sr. to go in.
No, but it wasn't. That's what I'm trying. Okay, so let me explain it like this, right?
I think it was.
There was so much blood and body on the floor, they could not have had it sampled and everything done. People, they go back to scenes for several days when it's those kinds of situations to collect more evidence and see it in the dark, in the light. I mean, by the time they started going through and seeing the pictures, it's nighttime. So they needed daylight to see it still. And even if they had everything they thought they had, there was a good chance they were going to miss something because it was evening-ish.
No, it was daylight. So no, they're in there at
some daylight. Yeah.
This is all daytime. This is daytime stuff. This is like 3 in the afternoon.
Okay. I know. That's what I'm saying. 3 in the afternoon in January is darker than 9 o'clock next morning. So what I'm saying is they needed to leave it, collect what they could that night, take pictures of what they could that night. They needed to leave it overnight and then go back and look at it again a few times. They had a whole group of investigators that didn't get a chance to walk through the scene. But here's the thing, Greg, okay? When when a victim is in front of you and it's your loved one, you are not going to protect that investigation because your first priority is your child or the person you love. You're not thinking, oh my God, they've been murdered. You're running to their side because, oh my God, they're gone. So they're not able to be allowed around it and open. They can't leave that door open because the chances that the person can show self-restraint and overcome their natural need to be with their child is impossible. It's so we're wired. Does that make any sense?
It doesn't in this case because the bodies aren't in the house.
It doesn't matter. The biological evidence was tons of blood,
Sure.
tons of
Sure.
it, and hair,
Yeah, but
and body
yeah.
skin, feces from the dog, teeth. They jeopardized all of that.
Well, all
And they're
of the
walking
police
through.
work, all of the cops are gone. All of the investigators are gone by January 18th, one day before these people are in this house, when they clearly shouldn't be. I don't think there's any doubt.
Weren't they found the
But
17th or the 18th to begin with?
they were found on the 17th. The investigators stay there all night, and then
Right.
the scene is and then they leave the following day on January 18th.
Yep.
But they make it very clear to say that they cleared that scene. They cleared the house at about 5 p.m. The house was
They
cleared.
cleared. I think what they meant by
That-
clear was all the authorities had left. That's
And that's
clearing.
what but they
Yeah.
hadn't left. But they hadn't
What?
left because no, they hadn't left yet because then they stay there for January 17th all the way through January 18th.
They clear if they leave for the night to sleep. They keep it under. A lot of
They
times,
cleared
a lot
it.
of times
They
they stand
cleared it.
outside the door.
They cleared
Like they
the
cleared it.
scene. Whatever maybe their terminology is different than what we're talking about, but they cleared that scene within a couple hours. The scene was cleared, and then they brought in BCA, and then they brought in everybody else.
Right.
So
The clearing of the
it's a
scene
weird
is them
thing.
taking pictures and video. And before the samples, the ME should have been there.
Yeah.
There should have been people that went through and did that. But here's the point, Greg. It doesn't matter if they suddenly say, okay, the scene's clear. They need to, okay, think about the Simpson case, right? Remember how long the case went on, even if it was high profile. There's 2 people killed and it was bloody, was it not? They
Yeah.
kept that scene preserved outside in Los Angeles with rain and everything else. They kept the blood preserved on the ground because they knew the jury would have to see that scene. 2 people bleeding out on the ground with tile, no children, no hair, no dog, no teeth, no skull, spine, okay? And they kept that scene pristine as they could. They did a great job until the jury could get there, right? They had no right for anybody to be in that building because there were 3 people dead. That's extra blood, and that is not a murder-suicide. They cannot declare a murder-suicide. So the ME does all of the autopsy stuff and says the cause and manner of death, and then they go back, get the tox reports, and then go back and sit down and have that discussion. That means that that scene could have been completely under lock and key by no one but the investigator and the chief, maybe the ME, until they had to sit down and wrote the paperwork out. That's unacceptable. Period.
Greg and Samantha,
Yep.
the scene, they wrapped up the crime scene and closed the house up at 4:45 a.m. on January 18th.
That's really quick.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Really quick.
But they cleared it within a couple hours. So it's their terminology that has been kind of,
Well, right. Clearing a scene can
helping.
be leaving for the
confusing
night.
me.
You have to understand that. Okay, so for example, once they cleared Columbine, I'm going to use Columbine again. They cleared Columbine for bombs and everything else. They went through, they found the shooters, they found the bodies, right? They knew they couldn't remove them right away, and they needed some pictures and all that overnight. So the crew that came in, they sent home to sleep. They cleared the scene, and they brought in another crew just to keep guard over the entrance of the school and the entrance of the library.
Okay.
They cleared the scene, though, because there was no one in there. They went home to sleep. Then they come back the next morning and resume the investigation. Clearing the scene, I don't think in every case. Now, I could be wrong, but I know that I've never heard the terminology used to mean the place was cleaned up and spiffy and ready for assholes to walk through. Like, sorry. And not for nothing, but they had nothing on their shoes to protect prints or any other fluid that could have been on the floor. I mean, that is really sloppy work. If they decided in that moment, okay, this is a murder-suicide, and went about it like that, they did a sick injustice that can never be undone. You can't do that.
Well, they did have stuff on their feet when they went into the house. I think when the first 2 cops went into the house, they didn't.
They're the cops.
Because they didn't know what was going on.
They're
but
the cops.
Everybody else should have
They're
had.
the cops. They're the cops.
Yeah.
They are the cops. They can do that because they can account for the water and the dirt and the snow and all that. The 2 assholes we're talking about were not in there. They were in there knowingly traipsing through a crime scene. Do you see what I'm saying? They weren't
But the
protecting
crime
shit.
scene was already cleaned up. They had no intention of ever coming back. That's
It's not-
very, very clear.
You're assuming that.
No,
You're
I'm not
assuming
assuming that.
Where do they say that they have no intention of ever coming back?
Because
Okay, so
they
when
were
did the
forced
cleanup?
to come back 2 days later, and then 1 month later, they had no intention of ever coming back to that house once they left January 18th. Now that's just what I'm thinking. That's just what I'm guessing.
And that's my point. Is you're
what
guessing.
I truly think.
But you're guessing.
But it's based on what they've done. It's based on everything that they were doing up until that point, and there was no indication anywhere in those reports or in any documents that they had any intention of coming back beyond that point.
Well, if they say that
very,
on
very
paper,
clear
Greg,
to me.
Greg, if they say that on paper, then they're admitting that they didn't do a full and thorough investigation. If they write in their reports, we're going to be back later, see you then, that would sound like ridiculous. Here's the deal, right? I know what you're saying and I get what you're saying, but what you don't understand is that's exactly why you do what I'm telling you should do. Because you are going to have to go back. And that's the thing, you have to. There's going to be 3 people dead.
Not if you have the case solved. Not if you already have the case solved. Which
That's
from
the problem, is they don't have the right to say that, though. They were on scene barely for a few hours. They are not the medical examiner. And they didn't have cops reports yet. The cop's job is not to determine what happened. The cop's job is to gather the evidence, analyze the evidence, put it together with the toxicology and the autopsy reports. Everybody has a role they play. You don't walk in there and go, well, I'm the judge and the jury, because that's not their job, right? They played judge and jury, essentially.
That's pretty much what they did.
That's outside of the scope of what they did, and what I'm trying to tell you is that's wrong.
Oh, I get that.
That's wrong.
I get that.
But that's what I've been arguing the whole time.
Okay.
Asking that. Yeah.
Real quick. When did the cleaners go in there, Greg?
The cleaners began on the 18th or the 19th, and they were still in there on the 20th, and most likely back on the 21st. So I think they were in there for at least three days, if not more.
That's more time than the cops. Wow.
And when were the guys in there?
The guys were in there January 19th.
Okay, so the cleaners were still cleaning, and that house was not available for people to be in there because it was still toxic and it still was a biohazard, and they were still in there.
Thank you, Sophia.
So we know that they were in that house when it still was a biohazard. Okay.
Yes.
That's an issue because now they're going home in these clothes. They've exposed their family. They've exposed everybody else in that car.
I'm laughing at you so hard.
And they hadn't found two bullets yet.
Sophia, I love you.
2 very important bullets yet, which is crazy.
Yes, they haven't. They're planning to go back.
Twice, and they only go back because they were told to go back.
By the 2 assholes walking around playing Scooby and Shaggy. If Scooby and Shaggy were walking around making moves, they would have never gone back.
But even they missed 1 bullet because they only saw the bullet in the attic. They didn't see the bullet that rolled out of the carpet 1 day later that was tied to the daughter. So now, they all missed that.
Hear me out. The crime scene cleaners I know were the ones that said something about the rug one, right? But other than that, you and I are going to come to blows if you don't understand that you're taking the word of those 2 motherfuckers over the entire eyes of the police department.
Who said I'm taking the word? Who said I'm taking the word?
Well, you said, because what you said was they missed 2 bullets. We don't know for sure they missed 2 bullets. They missed 1 at least under the rug. The one in the attic was reported by the 2 assholes playing Scooby and Shaggy. And they are buying sacks of shit.
And they missed it. Yeah, and they missed that bullet too. So we can disagree on when the bullet was there. The only thing that's going to prove to me that there was a bullet there, or that there wasn't a bullet there, is a photograph on January 17th that shows that there was a bullet there. I do not think, but listen, I do not think, it is, and anything's possible. But to me, it is highly unlikely that somebody is going to go into the house on January 19th when everybody's watching in broad daylight, shoot something into the attic, and then leave, all within about 5-10 minutes. No, I'm sorry.
Wait a minute, time out. Where are these facts coming from? When did it become daylight? When did it become 5 or 10 minutes? And when did silencer cease to exist?
Well, the silencer thing, that's definitely there. But again, we can't say that it's a silencer.
Why are you saying 5 to 10 minutes though? And why are you saying broad daylight? Where did that come from?
That's based on the 911 call.
Right. And even 911 call, they were probably there at night.
They were there in the daytime. It was broad
If we can
daylight.
believe them. If we can believe them.
No.
And
You only need to believe the person that made the call on January 19th. Whoever made that call and said that there was a suspicious person, not persons, but person inside of the house on January 19th.
Right. I get what you're saying. But the bullet itself was explained and pointed out by those assholes in the house. I'm not talking, but the 911 call, I get what you're saying, right? I don't think they were there 5 or 10 minutes before they were seen, number one. Number two, whatever was going on in there, they were not sitting there with their Bibles praying to the Lord. Okay? We all know what was going on in there was not choir practice.
We don't know what was going on. I don't believe we do know what was going on. I'm not ready to assume that I know what was going on at that point.
But we know they weren't reading each other Berenstain Bears, Greg.
We know. No, actually, no, we don't. They might have.
Oh, my God, you're such a motherfucker.
They might have had that book with them.
You're right, they might have.
That was David's
We're never and ask them what one they were reading, okay? Ask them what one they were reading. I hope it was one about strangers.
We are never going to get the truth from any of them anyway. They have done their best to play games from the very beginning, and we're never going to get the truth. We only have what they've told us.
You are the voice of reason, and I love you.
And there's many things we can do to prove what they say wrong that we already have done in certain cases. So that again shows that what they're saying is not true. They've been caught in many, many lies.
But we can eliminate they were reading each other Berenstain Bears. Admit it.
No, we can't.
I hate you.
No,
I hate you.
You can't. And it's not even relevant.
The thought of it's really funny.
Well, they certainly.
With them sitting down and reading Sweet Valley Twins. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, they certainly weren't praying and, praying for their souls or anything like that. They were obviously up to something.
What?
The best case scenario would have been that they were in there praying for their souls.
Oh, we know that wasn't true, though.
Oh, Greg.
It's probable. It's not probable.
Oh, you bastard!
And we also don't have a timeline of when they arrived and how long they were there.
You are a bastard.
We
do. Based on the 911 call, because when that call came, and here's the other theory, or that we're talking about two separate things, which is even more crazier. But let's say we're just talking about this one, and there's no clear way. We don't know how they tied this 911 call on January 19th to Chris Klein. They don't make that clear, which is very weird too.
I thought they did. I'm almost positive they do.
No, they don't.
I'm almost positive in the paperwork somebody identified him. And
because of the truck. Yeah, because of his camo truck.
And then because of him walking around with flowers like a weirdo.
Well, so somebody.
Okay, I'm going to have to agree with that.
So here's the actual you have somebody calls 911.
I'm giving you the middle finger, Greg. Go ahead.
It takes the cops a couple minutes to actually show up, but by the time that the cops show up, the people are not there. So that's what I'm saying is we do have somewhat of a timeline that shows how long they were actually there.
So then they ran from the scene when the cops came? Cute.
So the person who called 911 to alert them that somebody was in the house, they called when that truck immediately drove up? Or did they just look out the window and say, hey, there's a truck there?
Good question. Good question.
Yeah. That's a really good point.
We honestly don't know how long somebody was in that house. Or how,
I think.
Have you ever called them to ask questions, the Apple Valley Police?
Me? Yes.
Yes.
And actually it was amusing because they literally told me a lie after they told Greg something else.
Amazing. So are you actually expecting to get the truth from them?
Usually I can take a few people down or charm them into it. In this case, I got to tell you, I called a Walmart in Minnesota to get the records of things they bought on their trips there, and I got a lot of information. I kept telling the girl, don't give me that. You don't have to tell me that. That's lovely of you, but that's going to get you in trouble because they were so open with it. So I thought for sure I could look at the Minnesota people and be like, hey, you Vikings fans. The color purple is my favorite, is what I was hoping for. And instead, they just straight up stonewalled me, and I'm guessing it's because none of them are smart enough to get their shit together. I think a lot of their documentation was done beautifully. I will stand by that. I think they did a great job with chain of custody. I think they did great work there. I think independently there were a lot of great investigators on it. When it comes to, like, you know, Peter, Paul, and Mary there getting everything together, there was no cohesion at all, you know? But they gave me a lie, though. But usually, I mean, I dealt with more than a few cops, and like I said, typically I can either charm them into it or look at them and be like, I'm little, but I'll fucking wreck you.
Well, tell us,
like,
tell us what they told you.
Which one? When I called Apple Valley?
Yeah.
Wait a second. They told you, yeah, they told me that he was on vacation, right? Yeah, that's what it was. They told me he was on vacation.
That's what they told you? Mm-hmm.
And they told you something else, right?
Yeah, they told me he was on medical leave.
Yeah. Yep. So maybe, I mean, unless there was an intern hanging around answering the phones and screwed up, which again, that's possible. Okay, that's definitely one that's a possibility, Gregory.
Okay. Here's something. Here's something on the 911 call. It does say in the comments, this person, a few houses down, 15 minutes ago. So it sounds like the person did know. So they had 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes inside and outside of that house, and that's really it.
That's
according to the
damage.
911 call.
That's more than enough time to do a lot of damage.
That's enough time.
You have no idea.
Yeah, it is. But again, it's like, I don't know. It's the most oddest thing to me. This is Building 7. This bullet, everything connected to this bullet is the smoking gun right here. It does not make sense.
I agree.
How they miss it. You don't miss a building falling in 7 seconds, and you don't miss a bullet hole right above your head.
How many rounds were spent? How many rounds cells were found? And how many holes did they find?
On that first day, or are we talking about in general after 2 months?
The first day, dude. How many did you're such a dick.
They
left
that house. They left the house with 4 spent bullets and 6 casings. They were still missing 2.
And how many marks of shots?
And how many what?
How many shot marks around the house? Bullet holes.
How many shot marks? Not really much.
Bullet holes and ricochets.
There was one in the living room floor, and we'll debate the one in the ceiling.
Wait a minute. I feel like I've had that wrong then. Hold on a second. Hang on. I know I read about somebody theorizing that David held his hand up laying on the floor and tried to shoot his own dog. So there's at least one more somewhere in the house.
That's all guessing. There's no proof.
No, that was in the paperwork.
No, it's not. It's where?
No, that was what somebody said.
Yeah.
I'm almost positive that was in the paperwork. Hang on. I'm going to check it. Because I'm almost positive. Either way. So
there's no way anybody can
Rania had 2 shots, right? And Kamel and David each had 1?
No. Kamel had 2, and Rania had 1. David had 1.
But there are 3 bullets with Kamel's DNA only on it.
What?
Blood.
And she's missing her head. Yes. Well, it had her DNA. I mean, her DNA.
DNA, not blood. Greg, DNA is correct, not blood.
No,
DNA is also in serology.
Okay, but there is a difference between DNA and blood DNA in these reports. There are some times where they find DNA that is not blood, and they're not very good at making that clear to a common person.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, when they say blood, it's different than when they say her DNA. Because her DNA could be blood, it could be saliva.
They didn't do low-key tests on those. They did actual DNA, blood, serum DNA tests on these bullets.
Did. And when they said the DNA part, that means we don't know if it was from the bullet of the blood, or we don't know if it's from the serology. We don't know what was on it, but then we know they found it, right? And we know 2 people are on it sometimes, 3 people, right?
2 or more, a lot of them.
And they say each time that the other 2 could be ruled in or not be ruled out, right?
In some cases, they say 1 or 2 can't be ruled out. That's why we're going to do a whole thing on that. We're going to do a whole show on that one day.
Yeah, because if they have unknown DNA on there too, I definitely blanked out on that one and have that section wrong. Remember, Greg, I told you the first time I read through it, and this is my fault, it's not an excuse. First time I read through it, remember I told you I read it through in like 12 hours? And I was like, I think that part I read and I was still processing it because I had the thought in my head of the bullets differently. But now that I'm thinking about it, why would Kamel need 2 shots to the fucking head? That's overkill. That tells me that she was probably the target. That's way overkill.
Yeah, and I've made that statement for over a year that she was most likely the main target.
Really? I thought
Yeah,
I thought it was the first one to think of it because I didn't hear anything else but you say it.
Yeah, I did a video with Greg like over a year ago. It must have been in April or something like that, where I even stated we had gone over the DNA, and with the 3 bullets that are connected to Camille, now we can't prove that she was shot 3 times, but there are 3 bullets connected to her with her DNA.
Wait. There's 2 bullets connected to her, but do we know for a fact there's 2 separate paths? Did the ballistics people say that there was 2 entries and exits?
That
there
we could tell, yes.
Exits, I believe, but the heads were so damaged that that's
why we
have to be open to a 3rd one.
They can find the pieces of 3 different bullets in the body. So what I'm saying is there were 2 bullets probably. I gotta go back and look at it, but I know there was at least 3 with her DNA on it, and then the other stuff was like unexplained or they couldn't rule out. I get that, but then in total they found there was 2 in Camille, 1 in Rania. I thought there was 2
nobody in. There was nobody. I don't think there were any bullets in anybody, were there?
Yeah, they recovered fragments. No. Yes,
yeah,
they
fragments
did.
from the scene, but not from the bodies.
The fragments had fragments in her head
in their body.
still.
Fragments, yeah. Rania had fragments, but that bullet shot through her, and that's the bullet that they find 2 days later that you can clearly see is more than a fragment. So
right,
there might have been fragments.
You're missing it. You're missing it. The point is we know that the bullet we know 1 shot at least was in there because they found fragments. If they found the rest of the bullet later, that's 1 full bullet.
Fragment pieces.
Right. But we know there's evidence of 1 bullet until we have evidence of 2 bullets.
Let's open up our books and let's look at this.
Under more articles?
We need to remember that Camille was missing her hands too.
Good point.
So
excellent point.
I mean, a bullet could have gone through there. Like, I mean, this is an assumption because in the Pinnock case, the wife had lifted her hand to deflect the bullet or to shield her face, and she has an injury to her hand.
But wait a minute, I gotta pull this up because I can tell, depending on how they describe the where they were separated, if it was a shot or if it was dismemberment. The trajectories of the bullets went left to right and back to front. Who identified gunshot wounds to the head? Just 2. Hang on. Internal evidence. Pubic hair is external. Idiots. Yeah, morons. That's ridiculous. Internal evidence. Wavy dark hairs recovered from the right sock and placed in an envelope. That's external.
They say that item 31, a bullet fragment. They distinctly say bullet fragment. The other ones they label as bullets. So item 42, 43, 44, 45, and 53 and 57 are all considered actual bullets. So
but those aren't found in her. Where in
No, they're laying at the scene.
Right.
That's what we're trying to figure out is what went into them, what ended up being recovered at the scene, what was still live or active, what was empty shell casings, things. I'm trying to figure that part out because that's the part I guess I got wrong.
Okay, 1 second. I will send you both.
Wait a minute, one says projectile, none recovered. Hang on.
Yeah,
Entrance. Yeah.
Where? Tell us where.
Page 4 out of 6. It's a gunshot wound to the head lateral. It says edge of the remaining left parietal bone of the skull, 6 inches from the top of the shoulder, 1.5 inches left of the posterior midline. It's rounded in relief to bevel. Its soot powder and stippling are not there, which is fucking strange. Don't even get me there. The wound was...
Can you quickly explain what that means?
Okay. So your body is broken into planes, the way you talk about them. So imagine your body standing there, and if somebody were to slice you down the middle so that your ass and your back half were one piece, and your front, like your face going down your stomach, and the front of your feet were the other part, like so you were spread right in the middle of your body that way, if that makes sense, that would be interior would be the part of you with your face, and exterior or posterior would be the part of you with your ass, okay? If you cut the body the other direction in 2 pieces, so your left and your right are separate, that would be the parts that were crossing there. It's almost like where the meridian meet and what are the things? Line of latitude, longitude. You know where they meet in the globe? I'm making a point. Anyway, think of a body, okay, being broken into these planes, anterior and posterior, which I just gave you. Then if you split left and right, it would be, I think it's interior, it's lateral and interior, or lateral and I can't remember how you do it, but anyway. So either way, what you're looking at here, right, is the parietal bone of the skull is on the sides, okay, kind of like your temple, but not. It's 6 inches from the top of the shoulder, meaning it's on the left or the right side, 6 inches from the shoulder, entered from the side of the body. It was 1.5 inches to the left of what's called the posterior midline. So the middle of your posterior half of your body, if it was in 4 pieces now, remember I said 2 cuts? If it was in 4 pieces, the posterior part in the back where your ass is, if it's broken into 2 more pieces, it would be 1.5 inches to the left of that line. Does that make any sense? It's so hard to explain. Okay, let me think of it another way. You know the globe? Okay, think of the head. That's a good one, Kim. Good job. Think of your head, right? You cut it down the middle, so your face and the back of your head are 2 separate pieces, right? The face part is your anterior, and the back of your head, near your neck and stuff, is your posterior. Now, if you cut it in the other direction, so a completely mixed cross, then you have 4 pieces, right?
Okay.
That's the midline. The midlines on either side now are determined. So in the back of your head, we have the 2 pieces, and then we have a cut again in the middle. That's the posterior midline of your body, that spot. So what it's saying is it went above the shoulder, 1.5 inches left of that midline. It was 1.5 times 1 centimeter rounded size hole, and it went inward and it beveled, which I believe is almost like mushrooming, but it basically, it's a little bit different, like it crumples, I think. That one, I didn't do ballistics, I hated ballistics. Oh, I did it, but I hated it. Soot, powder, and stippling should all be present when you get shot like that. I mean, at close range, it's a little different, but either way, there's none of it. Gunshot powder and soot should be there, or at least the powder, but it's not there at all. Linear fractures, which are fractures obviously that extend off a main fracture and go side to side, are associated with that wound. So there are fractures of the skull that come off of that main shot of the gun. So you've got a bullet hole like you would in a windshield with all the cracks spreading out from it. Does that make any sense? This part's so hard to explain. It says the exit wound is indeterminate. The pathway extends into the skull and brain. That's where it went, the path. The trajectory is the direction it headed in, so left to right and front to back. So the trajectory of that one bullet went through her head on the side from the left to the right, and it entered at an angle to go from front to back of the head. I'm pointing at it as we do it because it makes more sense when we do it that way. But the projectile itself that caused the injury, it says, was not recovered at the autopsy. Could have been at the scene.
Right.
The next one is gunshot wound to the head medial. Now, if I remember correctly, this says it was at the edge of the remaining left parietal bone, so the same place where the other one went in, what was left of her head on that side. It was lower down. It was 1.5 inches from the top of her shoulder there, and 1 inch left of that posterior midline. And it was the same type, but it said inwardly it beveled. It was 1.7 times 1.3, which is different than the measurement we saw above. It could have been changed in size by how close or how far away the shooter was. Soot, powder, and stippling still aren't there. The exit wound can't be determined, but it says unrecovered for projectile. So at that point, her head was wrecked, obviously. The pathway, skull and brain, trajectory left to right, front to back. It's like the person fired 2 shots, one higher than the other, boom, and then the second one was the second one there, because nothing was left of the head.
Yeah, I also sent both of you an image. It's a graph, and it tells you about all the bullets, where they were found.
What?
And
you're amazing.
42, 43, and 44, they all have, like I said, Kamel's DNA, and they are not connected to anybody else at that scene.
They conclusively say no?
Kamel. Yes,
they
ruled out
say no.
Rainey and David.
Wow.
Okay, I'm just making that very, very clear.
And that means somebody else would have loaded the gun, most likely? You think? That more than likely means there are 2 different sets of hands touching that casing. That's odd. I wonder how many guns were used. Do you remember that detail? I'm sorry I don't remember these things, guys, and I'm sloppy and not prepared, but
as far as we know, it was only 1 gun.
What? Really?
Only one.
Was it ever found? It was found at the scene near his hand, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it was found at the scene, and it was near his left hand.
Right. He had both his hands? Just his head was what was gone, right?
Don't know. His right hand was gone and his head was missing.
Okay, so perforating gunshot wound to the head on Rania at indeterminate range, which means they don't know how far or close he was shot. So it could have been intentional or not, actually. Entrance, right parietal scalp. That's like I was explaining, parietal to the side, but the right instead of the left. Path went right parietal bone with internal beveling and fractures, which would be, through the dura, through the brain, through the dura again, and out the left temporal bone with fractures. Okay, through and through. Left posterior, I can't remember that word, scalps with exited. Okay, on basal skull fractures. Projectile, went through a temple, okay. Projectile fragments in the left temporal skull. Leftward. Left them down and back. So now that I'm thinking about it again, I wonder if it got lodged in there. Yeah.
Yes, they took a fragment out of her head.
Yeah. They must have.
They took a fragment, but that's not the bullet tied to her.
Right, but what we're trying to but what we're trying to say, Greg, is if they find another bullet at the scene, right, and we know that we only have a fragment of Rania's, then we know, even if the head is gone in some cases, right, that we have one bullet or two, because it's either fragments that belong to another bullet or we have one whole bullet and fragments. That's how they figure it out.
These are projectile fragments.
I know, but not all of them are. The last two in Kamel were not. Hang on. I can't believe they get internal and external wrong. That's pissing me off. Huh. But they are all really different, and I would think that would be depending on how close or how far they were, right? Yeah. No evidence of soot, stippling, or gunpowder. I mean, gunpowder I know is usually or soot rather, is at really close range, I think, but why did none of them have that?
Wouldn't be stippling too?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, is they should have at least gunpowder.
That always struck me odd, is that they don't talk about any stippling or gunpowder on David's clothes. They don't talk about it
his
on
hands? What do you think?
Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
They don't talk about it at all.
It's not there in any of the shot wounds either, on the ceiling and stuff.
And so, I mean, if it's up close and personal, it should be there.
Right. Absolutely. And if it's not up close and personal, you'll still have, I believe, gunpowder, especially in the size of that house. How far away they could be max?
Mm-hmm.
No way. Hang on.
And that powerful of a gun?
What kind of gun was it again? 9mm?
It was a .45, I believe. Was it, Greg?
It was a Springfield 40 XD.
Okay,
I'm terrible with guns,
40.
to be honest. I'm awful with guns.
It's a
and
powerful.
And he used hollow points. So you have hollow points, and then you think of 3 bullets connected to Kamel. That is seriously, I mean, that's overkill. Major
That's overkill and a half, yeah. That makes me wonder if the shot, did they ever say officially who was shot first, second, and third? They're just assuming that David shot her twice.
They can only guess by whose blood is on who, and et cetera, et cetera.
Well, they can't guess. They can figure it out that way. But what I'm saying is, if he did it under mind control, I get that. If he didn't and it was someone else, then whoever that was, that person already killed Kamel with that first shot. Why would they shoot her head again? That's overkill. I completely agree, Sophia. I don't think he was mad at Kamel. I don't think they ever even raised their voices at each other.
I mean, if this was a pact, then why do it 3 times at least? Well, at least 2 times, possibly 3. If it was a pact,
why don't they each have a gun at each other?
Well, I'll go even one more. If David's gonna do it, if he's guilty, why doesn't he do it at close range to make sure that he only has to hit him once, which would have soot and stippling and all of that on it.
And you know what, too? He would have done that to spare them the pain of living through one shot. So I don't think he shot them at all now. He would have spared them the pain of being shot and surviving it. You're right.
And in the living room of all places?
Well, I think they were
in their beds.
But Rania
with the curtains open.
Bed.
With the curtains
Rania
open.
Didn't.
Don't forget.
Rania didn't sleep in her bed. She was in the living room all the time. So that makes sense. But the curtain being open is really weird.
Yeah, to have a witness. You know,
I wonder if... Go ahead.
No, I mean, the crime scene is a conundrum.
Yeah,
I wonder
really
if somebody did it and opened the curtains at the end. I have to wonder if somebody did it in darkness, whether it was early morning or late at night, and then opened the curtains like as a gesture of being an asshole. Like opening the curtains like, let's let the sun in. Like people do that shit.
You know, if somebody opened the curtains thinking that that would help people, help neighbors and help people see the blood on the wall, then they did not understand the layout of that house. Because
you're right.
Because standing at that at the front window, based on what Dan Hinnon has said, and I think he's accurate, he would know.
Yeah.
He's been there. He's walked up to it. Right. From that front window, you cannot see blood writing on that wall.
But does it depend on the reflection from the direction of the sun or anything?
That's a good question. I know he was there during daytime, so and remember
Judy as well, because winter will change.
Judy Prochnow, everybody who looked through that window, nobody says that they saw blood writing looking through that window. It's only later on.
But I don't think that person say, okay, so I know where you're going. I don't think that David, for example, right, if he was going to do it and keep the curtains open so that, or whoever did it maybe, could keep the curtains open so they could be found faster, they're not banking on that wording on the wall to be what finds them, you know. They're just opening it so they're found.
David would, I'm just guessing, I don't know David, but I'm guessing that he would make it clear that he did it if he actually did it.
I agree.
Yeah, I honestly think that he probably would have recorded it if he did it.
Oh,
yeah,
good
why
answer.
not? He recorded everything else, right?
Sophia, good point.
He recorded everything else in his life. He's documented everything else.
Did we know if they were ever checked for hidden cameras and pens and stuff?
I've been saying that for a year, too.
No way.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. Go back for 1 second, because I think I don't know if I got here late, and that's possible because I'm an idiot like that, but let's review 1 second. One, we all, I think, are in agreement right now, at this point in time, that if he had done it, he would have recorded it like everything else. That's a great point, Sophia. Good job. Number two, I don't think he would have ever done it in a way that would have caused 2 bullets to be necessary on his own life, because he's not going to leave her in a position where she's going to suffer. I agree. 3, if the window was open, which is unusual for them, and we don't know if the curtain was closed and then opened or what, but I'm wondering if the window was closed and that like they were killed in darkness, early morning, late night, and then opened by the perpetrator, or left open by David, you know, or whatever, whoever did it, so that they could be found. Not by the blood on the wall, but by the window being open that they would be found, period. But that seems to me like somebody's angry at Kamel, somebody wants them found and has that feeling for them enough that they don't want them to rot. And it tells me that whoever it was, you're right, doesn't know the layout of the house, but is taking these extra steps to almost care about their suffering and stuff. It makes me wonder if it's somebody close to them, for sure. I wonder if Rania was collateral and she got hit by accident, so the dog was spared.
Yeah, and I've said that too, that she was most likely collateral in this whole
got shot by accident.
Whole tragedy.
Was the second bullet went through both her and Kamel, right?
No, just her.
Oh, there was no bullet that went through them both?
There was no blood. This is why the cops think that Rania and Kamel were killed at separate times, because their flesh did not mix, period, from what they say.
Their what didn't mix?
Their
blood had mixed.
Their flesh, nothing mixed.
Right. You know what's weird, though, about that statement is that, remember when they showed the armchair?
They're found on each other. Sorry.
Time out.
Go ahead.
On that chair that she was leaned up against, remember all the blood that was on the arm of the chair? If she got shot, Kamel got shot the first time, she's taller than Rania. If she got shot and fell backward and her head, I know she wasn't found that way, but if her head was against there bleeding, which is what I was wondering how she was found flat on the floor if there's all that blood on the armchair. And it was like, okay, well, if she blew back originally, and Rania's sitting there still between her legs, untouched because the trajectory and the blood would have gone backward in the other direction, then she gets shot again and then positioned, but Rania's too afraid to run, or she knows the person's shooting, and she stays put, then gets shot, and that's entirely possible they wouldn't mix. Because Rania would be shot in the head, but Kamel being shot in the head, she wasn't bleeding from anywhere else except her hands, which again, we don't know if that happened till later or not, by the dog or whatever.
I would think maybe Rania's, I think Rania's arm missing shows signs of a struggle too.
But the things that her whole arm being gone does show signs. So what I know about drowning, for example, is when you drown and you're left in the water long enough, the things that the fish get first are the weak joints, like your ankles and your hands, and sometimes at your neck, even though it's not that weak. But to get the whole arm shows a struggle. But I don't know if she fought the person, then I'm guessing that person was unknown to her.
And there were cracked ribs, right? There's cracked
On
ribs
who?
in there too. Yeah.
Wait, who
Yeah,
had cracked ribs, Rania?
Look at page 3.
Okay, hang on.
At the last bottom
Yeah,
paragraph.
hang on. Actually sealed in evidence sheet paper bag, yet you have to change the right number is absent. Defects with jagged, tattered edges overlies the exposed glenoid fossa and lateral right ribs. It overlies them. The lateral right third rib is fractured. Huh. What? What? That's so weird. That's a problem.
They don't state whether it was, before death or after death.
Well, they might not know that. A fracture of a bone, they don't always know that. But wait a second, we have to assume children walking around alive with a broken rib like it was nothing. What? Jagged and tattered edges, that could have been a bite or a grab, but the skin being jagged and tattered tells me that might have been the dog.
Yeah, it's supposed to be from the dog. Anything jagged.
That would make sense to a degree, but they could have taken her whole arm off, though. That arm was taken out from the inside, and that skin is what was tattered, I think. Right and left lung weigh 67.56 grams. The external surfaces are green to purple because they're exposed. Red, purple, and softened. Section reveals no mass lesions. The tracheobronchial tree and pulmonary vasculars are unobstructed. So
that's on page 5.
It would poke inward, right? Yeah, that's a great point. So Kim just reminded me too so what we're saying is more than likely that would have happened after death, because if it had happened before death, it would have poked inward to her lungs and caused marks on her lungs. And pneumothoraxes, I mean, that would have been a real problem.
Can you repeat that one more time for me?
Yeah. Yeah, so we know that we can tell you think about it like she's medicine, so yeah, and I get that. Okay, so what we're saying is if the rib is broken, but the lung is not touched, the lungs are not touched in that way. They're not obstructed.
Okay, so it happened. Okay.
The lungs aren't injured at all, and there would either be a pneumothorax in there, or there would obstruct it, right? Or there would be damage to the tissue of the lung. If the rib was shot while after she's dead, it's not going to make marks on the lung, because if it happens while she's alive, those marks are rapidly being fixed, and therefore they're going to look red. They're going to look like they're healing, but there's nothing there. So there was no platelets or blood being sent there to heal it. That means she was dead. See what I'm saying now?
Yes, I absolutely do. Yes.
Okay. Greg, are you with me?
So do you think that this could have happened when her arm was being removed?
I don't know how the break happened, but I know that the break happened after death. Because if it happened before, there would be signs of healing and scratching instead on the lung. And there's nothing. Okay. The body wasn't sending antibodies to fix it.
So then wouldn't that go along with the dog ate the daughter's arm theory?
No, we're just talking about the lung and the rib right now. So the rib is broken, but the lungs are okay. There's no marks, there's no sign of healing, no nothing, right? Healing happens when you're alive, not when you're dead. So if the lung had been broken while she was alive, then the body would be sending antibodies and things to the scratches it would have made on the tissue of the lung.
Okay.
But the lung itself had to happen after death, because there was nothing in the body saying we have to survive and fix this injury. See what I'm saying?
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
It makes the most sense, I would think.
Nice. Thank you. Tell her thank you for that.
Huh. Do they protect? Oh, no, wait. Camille had no hands at all.
Right. Correct.
We know if they ever found them and bagged them for samples of an animal?
Nope.
Hands were never found at all?
They found digits that were consistent with fingers, parts of fingers, small little pieces, but no hands, no.
So they found little pieces and not full, like fingers intact or full hands?
Correct.
That would make me think, Sophia, you're right, that she held up her hand, but that would have been the first original shot then, not 2 hands worth. She could have been dead after that first shot.
Yeah.
There's no way in hell she would have.
That bullet would have tore through her hands and hit her face, no matter what.
Right, but if both hands are gone, that's what I'm saying. The second time she didn't hold her hand up, she would have been dead. So that's a great one.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great point. So what I'm going to do, actually, over the next couple of days, I'm helping a friend move. After that's over, I can really hit this next week and go through them again, because apparently I'm a fool for not being fully prepared.
Do you see how this is not adding up? And why there's so much confusion?
It's like Common Core math.
Yeah, right.
Right?
If you have 7 aliens and Bob has 12 pieces of pancake, how many times will it take you to get to the moon?
Without offending somebody.
Yeah.
While wearing a purple hat.
Right? Right? Guys, amen. That was a good one. That was a good team right there. Maybe, Greg, do you want me to go through each autopsy report next week and make sure I write up like a summarized amount to explain to people what some of the stuff means, or no?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'll do that. But first I'm going to do Sophia's paperwork through Apple Valley if they feel so inclined. And then, shit. I'm so pissed right now, guys.
Why?
How has your blood pressure stayed normal for all this time? Because I'm new to this, and my blood pressure is going through the roof right now.
Well, you're about to go down a big rabbit hole with the
I've gone through many rabbit holes in my life.
26 other people.
No.
It's like a big rabbit hole with a whole bunch of little rabbit holes all going in different directions.
I want to go
it's
home.
Like a spider web. It's more like a spider
I want to go home.
You
I
want
want to wake up in the
No,
dream, Alice.
too late. Too late for that. You're
Nope, I want to
too
crawl
far
out.
down.
I'm getting out of here. I'm getting out now.
Good luck.
Okay. The last slide, by the way, is just me basically telling you, like, always do what's best for justice. Just to get back to that, our tangent was beautiful, though, guys. Be discreet about what your research focus is and keep your notes safe. Don't discuss them with anyone because people will take your notebooks. If you choose to be a complete idiot, ignore this one. Get ready to be backstabbed. Have your fit taken. Take information you have as true before you have a chance to confirm it. Things like that. And they're going to say, I heard it from so-and-so. Rest and recharge frequently. It's beyond draining. So, for example, Greg should have taken a mental health day today, but he didn't because he's too tough. The next one is ask if you don't know. And then last is assemble an extension of your brain theme.
We just thank everybody for listening, and please look at the records, look at the files. Let us know what you think, because this is a lot for just a few people to take on, and we're happy to have other ideas coming in to help us out to try to get to the truth.
And occasionally we want people with blow darts to knock me out. That would be helpful. Very helpful. Sorry. It'd be a good talk, though. That was awesome.
Can you kind of give us a little teaser, maybe just, kind of what we're going to be talking about next with this Pinnock case?
The Pinnock case is another murder-suicide that happened on November 3rd, 2016. I think that the audience would be very, very interested in hearing about what we have to say, because it has almost the same exact team investigating this case, and there's lots of parallels. So we really would love everybody to listen.
It's going to be a damn good one. That's an interesting case.
This case bothered me. I'm not sure exactly why it bothered me so much, but it really was hard to go through.
It's bullshit.
It was weird. It was really weird.
It's creepy, right? Wicked creepy. It's weird. What?
I had to take like a day off after the call that Greg and I had going over the Pinnock case, because it affected me, just like Greg was talking about. Afterwards, I was seriously depressed. And
that's the one that you showed me, right? So are we talking about the same one? Because there's like 4 of them, right, guys? Wow.
Yeah, there are. There's a lot.
What's going on, man? But that's the one you and I saw. You sent me the records for, right, on Dropbox?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That one is messed up. That one really bugs you. That one's really weird.
That will be coming up hopefully on Sunday, and it will be a live chat. And I look forward to speaking with other people in regards to that and hearing their thoughts.
I'm so excited for that.
Greg worked really hard on this case.
Yes, you did. You did great work.
You did. You did amazing on it, Sophia.
Yeah, and then based on that, maybe we'll see if we're going to do a part 2 to that one. Only because there was more than I thought that was actually there. So thank you.
And then there's 2 more murder suicides after that, right, guys?
Yeah.
4 altogether.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I mean You know, Google, if anybody really wants to see, just Google murder, suicide, Apple Valley. Okay.
I cannot believe that you have to Google just those 4 words to get 4 or more of these in that small space.
Yeah, you might have to go down page 2 because most of it is, you know, there's a lot of the David Crowley stuff, but yeah, there's at least 4 known cases.
I can't believe nobody's questioned this officially from a federal level. If they see that many things going on in that small amount of space, they should be walking going, hey guys, what are you up to?
I mean,
we're not
really
incredibly unhappy in Apple Valley?
There's murderers. There's a murderer walking around setting up these killings.
I mean, we're just asking for you guys are saying that this guy killed his wife and then killed himself in all of these cases, but they're not providing the evidence. The simple thing is the who, how, when, what, where. This is journalism 101. You don't just say, okay, well, he was guilty. Well, you say why he was guilty. And if you don't know the answer, then you press the cops to find the answer. But you have all of these articles. Yeah, they're just like, well, you know what? It's a double murder-suicide, or it's a murder-suicide. The police think that he shot himself, but they never explain why they think that.
But there's
and
the
they
kicker,
never put
though,
pressure on anybody.
Greg, this is why, remember earlier I told you about the entry I wanted to do where I was talking about how nobody wants to see the ugly of it. Nobody wants to read the Oswald report because it's depressing. Nobody wants to think about that. And what the kicker is if you don't, then you are literally sitting there and Martin Luther King said, your life that you begin to die as a person on the day when the things that are supposed to matter no longer matter to you enough to get like mad, in so many words, if you will. And it becomes, people wait till it's done. And they don't want to see the ugly, but if they stop and they look, they'd be demanding answers, but they're not because they're so sedentary and okay to just accept it and move on because we're a society where it's on to the next one, on to the next one. It's not right.
Yep.
It ain't right. There's 4 altogether, though, am I correct? 4 of them?
The 4 that we've just kind of dug into. There could be
years
more.
15 and 18?
I mean, just doing a quick Google search. I mean, if we were to really do a in-depth search, who knows?
Can I do statistics and pull up statistics and see if I can get like a pie graph going next week? Because that is a really small population for all that. I wonder if there's killer stats around. They don't want to admit it.
You know, I brought that up to Greg after I got the case for the Pinnock case.
Really?
After I got the paperwork and I read it, I even brought it up.
Will you send me the names of the other 2 that you're thinking about too, Sophia, so I can look at those and see maybe this might be a serial they don't want to admit because they'd have to form a task force and then it'd be a mess. So I'm
trying to find the 4th one.
Huh?
Greg, do you have the information on the 4th one?
I have that. Let's see. I will look for it. I will look for that one.
Okay,
but I know we have. Yeah, I know there's and if you go a little bit outside of Apple Valley, there's a lot more.
Oh, there's an Indian reservation one that I found.
Oh,
so
nice.
There's so many of those, they just don't even care about looking into those. They have the money for it too. It's bullshit.
Doesn't the FBI look into that?
No.
Or am I wrong?
You're wrong. The FBI only becomes involved if a person is abducted or kidnapped and taken across state lines, if a crime crosses state lines, meaning somebody's picked up and then killed somewhere else, whatever, or if they're asked to come in by the authorities that are investigating and in charge.
Okay, I was wrong.
No, it's not that you're wrong. That's an easy one because the FBI, because they're separate from us and they want to be on their reservations, they don't want to be bothered and so on and so forth, which I totally understand. They usually don't get any federal help either because honestly, every time federal tries to help out the poor Indian people, we take their oil and give them false promises. No wonder they don't want us around.
No mainstream media news, no mainstream media coverage. So I'm shocked that you actually found one of those. It must have been a local paper or something.
Or Canada probably.
Yeah, it is.
Canada?
Yeah.
I'm going to send you the link on that one, Greg.
You know, there's a whole raft of them in Canada, you know, a ton of them. There's a ton of them right up and down that border, you know. I can send that stuff to you for sure. And they got a huge grant through the Prime Minister up there, Trudeau. He gave a ton of money to investigate those cases, and they did nothing fucking with it. And I know that for a fact because I took care of a family. I was working with a family, and I still am, in a case of a woman who is partially indigenous, like really small percent. But the money for her case was supposed to go to her case to find her, and there was money that was supposed to go to a bunch of these cases that never, ever, ever saw the light of day. It's fucked up. But I can't even, because people will never believe for a second if we bring into it an Indian reservation case. But if we're looking at Apple Valley and we're looking at the area around it with a small population and the same investigating companies, and they're just like going in and going, oh, murder, suicide, and leaving, that's possible that they have a serial. That's insane. That'd be insane. Where's the nearest base for the military there?
Oof.
Do you guys know?
I don't know.
Okay, can somebody find that out? Do you guys know? If you can, just let me know. If you guys can send me the names of the other cases, though, I got to get going. But send me the names of the other cases, and if we look into this, oh, and Sunday, can one of you text me so I can call in and listen and stuff?
Yes.
Okay. All right. This has been enlightening as usual. Like, let's get together and put our hands in the middle, and we're going to crush this, all right?
Sounds good. Until we meet again.
All right. You guys have a good weekend. Be safe and come back in one piece. We need to all investigate as a team.
You got it.
Okay. Have a great night.
You too, and everybody that listened, thank you guys so much. We love you. Thank you.